The Novak name once sparkled in Miami, a city that was itself transforming from a sleepy coastal town into a playground for the world's elite. The Novaks were at the heart of this golden era, their story woven into the very fabric of Miami's rise to fame and fortune. For decades, the Novak family was synonymous with luxury and power, their influence stretching from the sun-drenched beaches to the glittering nightlife. They hosted the rich, the famous, and the powerful, setting the standard for opulence in a city obsessed with glamour. Ben Novak Sr., a visionary hotelier, built the iconic Fontainebleau Hotel, a palace for presidents, movie stars, and legends like Elvis Presley. The Fontainebleau wasn't just a hotel, it was a symbol of ambition, a place where history was made and dreams were lived out under the Miami sun. His son, Benji Novak Jr., grew up in the penthouse, surrounded by unimaginable luxury. He lived a life of wild privilege, collecting rare Batman memorabilia, including a custom Batmobile, while rubbing shoulders with celebrities and dignitaries. For Benji, childhood was a fantasy come to life, but it also set the stage for future struggles. But the family's fortune crumbled when Ben Sr. lost the hotel to bankruptcy in 1977. The Fontainebleau, once the crown jewel of Miami Beach, slipped from their grasp, leaving the Novaks to face a harsh new reality. The loss was more than financial, it was the end of an era. Benji, undeterred by the family's downfall, refused to fade into obscurity. Driven by ambition and a desire to reclaim his legacy, he rebuilt his own empire with a multi-million-dollar convention business, becoming a major player in the world of trade shows and events. In 1991, he married Nartzi, a passionate and fiercely jealous woman. Their relationship was as volatile as it was lavish, marked by extravagant parties, public displays of affection, and equally public arguments. Together they lived a life that was both enviable and explosive. Their marriage was a storm of luxury, infidelity, and explosive arguments, an opulent world teetering on the edge. Behind closed doors, jealousy and suspicion festered, turning their glamorous life into a battleground of secrets and betrayals. The Fontainebleau symbolized their rise, but beneath the glamour, secrets and greed simmered, setting the stage for tragedy. The very walls that once echoed with laughter and music now hid whispers of deceit and looming disaster. The Novak story is not just about lost fortune, but about the catastrophic loss of trust, life, and humanity. It's a cautionary tale of how the pursuit of wealth and status can unravel even the most dazzling of legacies, leaving only heartbreak and ruin in its wake. The Novak tragedy began quietly, with the suspicious death of Bernice Novak in April 2009. Benji found his 86-year-old mother dead in her Fort Lauderdale home, surrounded by blood. Authorities called it an accident, a simple fall for an elderly woman. But the excessive blood and Bernice's careful nature raised doubts among friends. The case was closed and Benji inherited her estate, but whispers of foul play lingered. In hindsight, Bernice's death was the first move in a calculated scheme. Her accident was a violent murder, staged to look like a fall. The killer exploited assumptions about old age, escaping suspicion. Only after another shocking murder would investigators see the truth. Bernice had been ambushed and killed. Her death was not an isolated tragedy, but the opening act in a deadly family plot. The Novak legacy was about to unravel in blood. Just 3 months after the shocking and mysterious death of Bernice Novak, another tragedy struck the Novak family. One that would send shockwaves through the world of luxury hotels and high society. Benji Novak Jr., heir to the legendary Fontainebleau hotel fortune, was found brutally murdered in his hotel suite in New York. The news stunned everyone who knew him, from business associates to family friends, and quickly made headlines across the country. According to his wife Nartzi, she discovered Benji's body after breakfast, but what she found was a scene of unimaginable violence. The suite was in chaos, evidence of a struggle everywhere. Benji had been bound at the wrists and ankles, savagely bludgeoned with heavy dumbbells, and in a final act of cruelty, his eyes were cut out, a detail that horrified even the most seasoned detectives. This was no ordinary murder. It was a crime of pure rage and deep personal hatred. Strangely, there was no sign of forced entry, the door was undisturbed and nothing of value had been taken. Expensive jewelry, cash, and Benji's prized possessions were left untouched. This was not a robbery gone wrong, but a calculated, targeted execution. Investigators immediately turned their attention to Nartzi. Her alibi was shaky, and her calm, almost emotionless demeanor during questioning raised suspicions. She seemed oddly detached, as if she already knew what had happened. Security footage and keycard records revealed that no one had entered the suite except Narcy herself. The evidence suggested that whoever killed Benji had been let in by someone he trusted, or someone with access. Benji, who had lived a life of wild extremes and eccentric passions, met an end as dark and twisted as any Batman comic he adored. The violence of his death mirrored the chaos that often surrounded his life. As detectives dug deeper, they began to uncover a tangled web of secrets, hidden affairs, and a chilling conspiracy that reached far beyond the hotel walls. The truth was more shocking than anyone could have imagined. The Novak Dynasty, once the epitome of Miami's golden age glamour, was now in ruins. The family's legacy of power, wealth, and scandal had finally caught up with them, and the truth was about to surface in the most public way possible. The Prince of Miami's hotel empire met a brutal, unforgettable end, one that would haunt the city and his family for years to come. Investigators zeroed in on Narcy Novak and her brother, Cristobal Veliz, the two who stood to gain most from Benji's death. Narcy's marriage was crumbling, and a prenuptial agreement meant divorce would leave her nearly penniless. The motive was clear: kill Bernice, then Benji, and inherit the entire Novak fortune. Narcy and Cristobal hired Miami hitmen Alejandro Garcia and Joel Gonzalez to carry out the murders. Cristobal handled logistics and payments, orchestrating Bernice's ambush and Benji's execution. Evidence showed Narcy let the killers into Benji's suite and ordered the gruesome attack. The grieving widow facade shattered, revealing a cold, calculating mastermind. The Novak murders were not random acts, but a meticulously planned family conspiracy. Greed and betrayal had replaced love at the heart of the dynasty. Greed was the engine behind the Novak murders, a force so powerful it twisted family ties and shattered lives. In the shadows, money became more than just currency. It was the fuel for a deadly plot, a temptation that proved impossible to resist. Facing a bitter divorce and the prospect of walking away with only a fraction of the Novak fortune, Narcy Novak saw her world collapsing. The thought of losing her lavish lifestyle and social standing was unbearable. Desperate to secure her future, she began to hatch a plan, one that would ensure she inherited millions no matter the cost. The scheme was chilling in its simplicity. First, Bernice Novak's death would funnel her assets to her son, Benji. Then, with Benji out of the way, everything would pass to Narcy. It was a cold calculation, turning the family's legacy into a deadly game of inheritance. But Narcy didn't act alone. She drew her own brother Cristobal into the conspiracy, transforming sibling loyalty into a weapon. Together, they orchestrated the murders, weaving a web of lies and manipulation that ensnared everyone around them. The betrayal ran even deeper. Narcy's daughter, May Abed, became a target herself, viewed as a potential obstacle to the inheritance. The fear and suspicion that gripped the family was palpable, as trust dissolved and paranoia took hold. The conspiracy might have succeeded if not for an unexpected act of courage. An anonymous letter penned by Narcy's own sister landed on a police detective's desk. It was a desperate plea for justice and the first crack in the Novak family's carefully constructed facade. In the end, the same family ties that fueled the plot ultimately unraveled it. Arguments turned to accusations, and the truth began to surface as investigators closed in. The Novak case stands as a chilling reminder of how greed can transform love into hatred and trust into the deepest betrayal. The bonds that once held the family together became the very chains that destroyed them. The dynasty's destruction didn't come from outside enemies but from within its own walls. The Novak legacy was shattered by those who should have protected it. The Novak fortune became a blood-stained prize tainted by violence and betrayal. The family's darkest secrets, once hidden behind closed doors, were finally dragged into the light. In the end, greed poisoned everything it touched, leaving behind only loss, regret, and the ruins of a once great family. Narcy's alibi quickly fell apart under scrutiny. Her staged appearance at the hotel breakfast was too deliberate, and her calm reaction to Benji's brutal death raised suspicions. Key evidence: a drop phone used to signal the hitmen, and surveillance footage showing Narcy's odd behavior. Phone records placed her at the scene, coordinating with the killers. As the investigation deepened, Bernice's death was re-examined. Her injuries were far too severe for a fall. Crime scene photos and autopsy reports revealed a violent struggle, not an accident. The breakthrough came when hitman Alejandro Garcia confessed, detailing Cristobal's role in Bernice's murder. Suddenly 2 deaths became a connected double homicide. The Novak family's web of lies was unraveling fast. The truth was clear, this was a conspiracy rooted in greed, not coincidence. Narci's world of deception was collapsing. With the hitmen talking, the case against Narci and Cristobal became airtight. Investigators traced Western Union transfers and credit card purchases for the murder weapons directly to Cristobal. Surveillance footage showed the hitmen planning the attack at the hotel. Facing life sentences, Garcia and Gonzalez testified in chilling detail, confirming Narci's involvement and her order to mutilate Benji. The evidence, financial records, confessions, and video, left no room for doubt. Every lie was dismantled by hard proof. The Novak conspiracy was exposed from Fort Lauderdale to New York. Greed and cruelty had left a trail impossible to hide. In 2012, the Novak murders became a national spectacle as Narci and Cristobal stood trial. The prosecution painted Narci as a ruthless mastermind, presenting overwhelming evidence, financial records, confessions, and the hitmen's testimony. Narci's bizarre choice to wear her prison jumpsuit daily only reinforced her hardened image. The defense tried to blame Narci's daughter, May Abad, but the jury saw through it. May was a target, not a conspirator. The hitman's testimony was damning, describing Narci's direct role in both murders. The jury heard about the drop phone, the money trail, and the gruesome details of Benji's death. The defense's arguments collapsed under the weight of the facts. The fate of the Novak dynasty now rested with the jury. The jury found Narci Novak and Cristobal Veliz guilty on all counts. Both received life sentences, ending the Novak dynasty in disgrace. The family's legacy of glamour was destroyed by greed and betrayal from within. May Abad inherited the fortune, forever marked by tragedy. The Novak story became a cautionary tale, how privilege and unchecked desire can lead to ruin. The glittering Fontainebleau legacy was replaced by a legacy of blood and loss. The Novak saga warns that the deadliest secrets are often closest to home. In the end, the dynasty vanished, leaving only a tragic lesson behind.